Yes, yes. Okay, I think this is how we did it last time. Ooh, bitch. Okay, yeah, it's just after 4 and the sun is setting quickly. I'm like, is this gonna work for real? Maybe I need to put the chair down. Hang on. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Kinda. Okay, yeah. Oh, we just got off work. A long, terrible 2-hour shift of watching football. Yeah, but we're losing daylight fast, and I missed the creek. I haven't been here in a bit because of how our just work schedule has been, shifting around between different places. And then now that we're back on some of our old stomping grounds, we are closer to the creek again. But because I'm still walking the dog for my housemate twice a day, usually, before I go into work in the afternoons, and it doesn't give me enough time before work when I'm over here to stop at the creek. And, the days have been much shorter leading up to the winter solstice here, less sunshine. Although this is my favorite time of year to be here because there's typically less people and I don't mind the cold so much. But we're going to try a new snack here that we got the other day with our groceries. Because every now and then there will be something that happens that causes us to lose our appetite, and then we just, I don't know, we kind of like dip in and out of different things. But yeah, we've been forgetting to eat sometimes, so can't forget that caffeine though. We've had lots of caffeine today. Drink coffee and tea. Tried a new coffee this morning, winter blend, with some sugar cookie flavored non-dairy cream, just a smidge with our protein shake in it then. Yeah, and then we had a fruity tea in the afternoon. We did have some nuts and some dried fruit, but I tried this little snack bar. And then we got our pistachios. But then I need to actually make like actual food later, which is usually just tofu for us, our brown beige diet. Yeah, but I needed to eat something, so hope you don't mind. While we do a little update, little catch up here. How am I going to do this, Annie, at the same time? Didn't think this through. Well, okay, let's see. So, yeah, we got out of the original, we were like hospital, we were like facility to hospital to rehab, first rehab to second rehab, and then now we're in another transitionary place until we find a longer term thing to settle into. But we're kind of like there, just about. So yeah, things have settled down quite a bit, and a lot of positive changes with work. My workload has significantly decreased in some ways, like still physically. I don't have to like do as much as I used to, which is nice. I can focus more on my person's like mental and emotional well-being and like more companionship type stuff, which is nice for me and for him, I think, in some ways. So we've had some fun little adventures more recently. Yeah, just, I don't know, especially, trying to make the most of the season this time of year and get out when we can while it's still like somewhat warm and sunny before, we're all trapped inside and it's like, snow on the ground, whatnot. Which reminds me, this morning when I first got up, we had our first little dusting of snow that was all over the ground and the houses and the bushes. It was really beautiful. But it didn't last too long. As soon as the sun came out, it melted it all. Still pretty to look at. I should have snapped a picture. What else has been going on? We've almost finished reading Dracula, which I started in October when I was working over in the one rehab. When my person was in the middle of like doing their therapy and stuff, it would usually give me a good like 30, 45 minutes, sometimes like an hour or so to myself. And so I would like be reading. And I've really been enjoying that book as just like a pleasurable read. And I've been doing the like PDF on Bram Stoker's website, reading it visually like that, but then also listening to the audiobook on YouTube at the same time. So I have like the, double stimulation through that. And then I can also, do other things at the same time as well if we want to. Yeah, but we've really been enjoying that. And I wanted to take my time with it as like one of the many things that we're doing all at once. So when we have the time to sit aside and can enjoy doing it, then we do. But then the video we're planning on making that involves it has also to do with Nosferatu, his connection to that, as well as like other vampire and wolf symbolism and other occult symbolism, and its connection to the devil and devil energy specifically, which will be perfect in time for Capricorn season since that's its major arcana. So that was kind of like our thought process and where we're heading with that. So come Capricorn season here in a bit, we will be making that video. And before that, we've got the full moon in Gemini coming up here. We'll make a video for that before that. And since we've been back on our old stomping grounds with work too, we've been able to get back into the gym a couple days a week, which has been nice. Because it's a small little gym. And there's usually not a whole lot of people in it. And we've also been running into a lot of people we know since we're back in like our little work area, which has been nice. Makes my little extroverted heart happy to see people and just like, I don't know, like catch up a little bit, talk here and there, give some hugs, and meet some new people as well. Which, okay, so this is the other thing that happened this past week on Thanksgiving when I was working. We, I'm like, do we really want to get into it? It's just like another harassment example of like some of the stuff that we deal with in the field. Yeah, I had just taken my person out getting ready to play bingo, and there was a person, a woman, a wife of one of the residents, and she had come over and was just like standing next to me, but like hovering over me, not saying anything. And I realized that she was doing that and not moving and staring at me. So like I go to like look up at her and I'm like, yes, like, can I help you with something? And she was very unhappy. She asked me, what am I doing? And I was so confused because I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing? Like I'm sitting here. We're getting ready to play bingo. Like, what are you? It was weird. And then she asked me more specifically. She was like, why are you on your phone? And again, I was confused. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, why is anyone on their phone? I was like genuinely confused. I was like, what are you trying to get at? Like whenever people try to communicate in a indirect way with me, it just, my brain starts a short circuit because it's like certain like social criteria doesn't always register or make sense to me, right? Like I tend to be a pretty direct person, and I've been told in the past that I, am not the best with skills like tact, for example. So I've had to learn a bit more about like how certain people socialize a bit differently than we do. But yeah, specifically when it comes to more like passive or passive aggressive communication styles, it really, I'm like, every person's a little bit different. There are certain patterns that can be similar, but I just am like, what are you looking for? Like, what do you want from me in this situation? So anyways, we were having this little interaction, and then she just let me know, like, she was like really upset seeing that like I had my phone out while I was working, right? And then she left, and I was like, okay, whatever, like anytime there's any sort of like little interactions like that, usually I'll just kind of like brush it off and be like, hey, whatever, this stuff happens. people have bad days, they get upset, whatever. And it was the holiday, I was just like, whatever. There's more important things to focus on. But one of the other younger girls who was working, after the lady walks off, the other girl comes around the corner and she's standing, several feet away, and she's looking at me like with a look of concern and confusion on her face. And I see her and I kind of like mouth over to her. I was like, did she say something to you? And she was like, yeah. And she was confused. And then I see the lady go by again down the other end of the hall. And this time she goes after one of the nurses and she's starting to talk to them. And I'm like, okay. I was like, now we're just getting into like, now you're not just only harassing me, you're also harassing the other people that are like working. And so then I get up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go deal with this. Because again, for us, I can just brush it off and move on, whatever. But I'm like, what we're not going to do today is go harass multiple people because you have a personal problem with something I'm doing, right? We're not going to do that. So then I go find her. She's talking to the nurse, and I just, step up in the middle of the conversation. I was like, can I, would you like me to be a part of this? And she's like, yeah. And then she kind of like turns her attention towards me. It relieves the nurse then to be able to go on, continue doing her job. She had like a look of bewilderment on her face. I was just like, just please go. I'm like, we'll handle this, right? And the lady, starts going off and just explaining, all the reasons why she's upset and whatnot. I'm listening to her. I'm like, okay, And I also, many people, when situations can be kind of like high stress like that, and especially when it comes off like passive aggressive communication or aggressive communication, anything like other than assertive is a form of violence in essence, whether or not we see that or believe that. It's a form of violent communication, and it is anything but like loving and compassionate and considerate and kind. And usually when people interact in that way, most of the times it is unconscious. Like they don't necessarily realize that they are projecting something like internally within themselves onto a person, like regardless of what the action is, that they witnessed that caused it, right? Like seeing my phone out while I was working, that upset her. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that either. And I, as I was listening to her, I was like trying to validate like her experience, what she was thinking and feeling, while also letting her know, that the kind of communication I specifically told her, like this was passive aggressive communication, and it's not helpful, right? Like there are other ways that we can get our message across in a way that is more conducive towards the change, right? That like we're seeking. And we're talking about how, like I see and I understand like the passion in her heart and that she cares for, these situations and wants to see things done differently. But again, the way she was coming at me, talking about you and the younger generation and you're all like this. And it was just like, whoa. Yeah, so we handled it. It was, it started turning in a better direction. She was like listening to some of what I was saying. And it was interesting to certain things that she brought up in regards to like special needs, people not having a voice and how like she feels like she needs to like be that for them and we need to be that for each other. And, I just like respectfully let her know that, I also could be considered one of those people, but you wouldn't necessarily know by looking at me, right? And I explained to her how, and pointed out, like I had a headphone in my ear and I usually have it throughout the day while I'm working. And I usually play music or like a podcast or a video or something in the background while I'm working because it helps me to process information of like what's going on in my surroundings. So my focus isn't necessarily 24/7 on that specific thing, but it just is a way that helps me process what is otherwise a very overstimulating environment to be in. And she listened and like somewhat understood what I was saying. And and it was, it was going okay. And towards the end of the conversation, again, this only happened for like a few minutes or whatever. I asked her name, and like wanted to like introduce myself. I let her know, I've been in this for like 9 years. And, we also probably like know some other people, right? If you've been around here. And when I told her my name, right, this is the interesting thing, because as soon as I like introduced myself and said what my name was, she like stopped and was like a little like, oh, because she realized that she had known who I was, even though we had never met face to face before. She had heard my name through a good friend of hers who had talked about me and who had shared with her, what, like very positive feedback of her relationship with me and like who I was. And so again, the second she heard my name and like put two and two together, like light bulb went off. She realized like who I was through that interaction. It was in direct opposition to how she had approached me and had been speaking with me. And so she immediately like changed like her position and her tone and everything. She actually apologized to me. She joked about how like after this she was going to confession, and she was like, she felt bad for like coming at me that way or whatever. And we even ended with like a little hug, which was sweet. And my hopes, is like, we formed a little bit of a like relationship, and hopefully, be able to have kinder interactions in the future when I run into her. And I did end up running into her again later that night as I was leaving when I saw, the mutual person that we know. And she didn't say anything then, but I just was like, all of that, for what was the outcome, hopefully, positive change, right? But it's just another example of like some of the stuff that we deal with in the field. And, it gave me an opportunity to exercise some of our skills. I always think of Skyrim. What is it? The one where it's like, the different skills you can level up. What is it? Not bartering, negotiating. What is it called? Kind of. Yeah, like when you can talk them down in the price. Like use some of my social skills, my speaking skills there. I was like, okay. But again, normally we wouldn't even necessarily like interact that far, but why are we using our energy to harass people on any day, but then especially like on the holiday? And it's just like, we understand why that happens, right? And again, a lot of it's unconscious, their own shadow material projected. But it's sad because it's like a lot of times the very things that a person is projecting onto someone else are things uncovered within themselves. And so when we're constantly like mirroring things back to each other, ultimately what we want to do is like show them love. We want to show them a lighter side to looking at things, while also acknowledging, like what is it that's triggering here and upsetting in the first place. But throughout that too, I was shaken a little. Some of my nerves were going off because again, it was another form of harassment, of violent communication. And my body, whether I want it to or not, and regardless of how much I have worked on my own healing over the years, my body will still react to these situations. And I will shake, and I will like feel anxiety and stress in my body just shoot everywhere, because of, again, having experienced like complex trauma from a young age for long periods of time. It's just my body has like held on to that. And so a simple interaction like that can trigger it, and my body's like shaking again. I was like, and then holding that energy afterwards. And it's good that I have a very safe home environment that I'm living in now with someone who's very supportive and kind. And we got to talk about it briefly when I got home that night. And again, I was able to like walk the dog and then like spend some time in my nightcap to like wind down and just like take care of myself. But I, very much look forward to the day when we don't have to deal with it in that specific scenario, even though I know like no matter where we go, we'll always find like these situations happening. And some would even say that perhaps, like the more that we heal and the more that we embody healing for ourselves and are able to reflect a more clear picture and vision to the people around us of like what love is and looks like, right? That is accepting and embracing other people, then in some cases, like it's just never really going to go away. But we do learn how to handle it better, I guess. But again, the way my body reacts, I'm just like, ah. Yeah, don't love that, but it is what it is. Okay, yeah, okay. Oh. Yeah, so that happened. And then what else has been going on? Oh, with the dog, walking her. The last time I talked about it, she had gone, I think, a little bit further with me. And since then, we have gone on several very long walks, even just the other day on the weekend when I was off, because I had like a lot more time to plan and do it. And it was crazy because of how like cold and windy it was. And she just was like a little pup again, even though she's a senior dog. And she was pulling me, like she just wanted to keep going. But we were out for probably a good like half hour. Some of her walks have been like 20 to 30 minutes or so, which has been really good. And she enjoys it. She stops a bunch. I count how many times she stops to pee or just like sniff around, and it gets up there in number. And she's gotten to a little habit too of like, as soon as we get back, getting a little bit of attention from me, whether that's just like a few little pets, or playing ball. And again, yesterday after our long walk together, she not only played ball with me twice, but in between that, she sat and then laid down in front of me to let me pet her for a good like 5 minutes or so, maybe. Even on the back of her head and neck, which she usually doesn't like. So I was like, we're making some good progress there. Yeah. Which is very sweet and endearing and healing for me too. We're at 20 minutes. Again, I don't know how much space I have on the phone, so this might not last too long. And again, we're losing sunlight quick too. There's actually another car that pulled up, surprisingly. And a few people that have gone by walking dogs here at the creek. Can you even? Oh, you can kind of see. There's a water there. Here's one of the trees. That's not the dick tree, but the dick tree is one behind me. Yeah, I like this bar. It's good. It's got some berries in it, some mixed berries. What kind of berries was that? Take after them squirrels with their berry loving selves. What do we got? We got strawberry, blueberry. There's some quinoa in here. Got some of that oat fiber. Yeah, squirrel food. Okay. What else going on? I don't know. Off the top of my head. We talked about some of our interesting dreams we've had lately. I don't know how much I would want to share about any of them. Yeah. Dream interpretation is very individual. But even if I can't remember like an entire scene in a dream or like all the details, usually I'll pull out just like what stood out to me most in any given moment. You know, like when I wake up, what is the thing that is really like right there, you know, or that sticks with me or that I keep replaying in my mind. And a lot of times that refers back to different animal symbolism. Like there's this one interaction I had in my dream the night before last, I think it was, where I had pulled up this chair. There were these people that were like talking not too far from me. And I pulled up this chair beside me because I wanted the one person to sit down. And they did. They came over and sat down. And they did something that was a little funny. They did something that was a little odd. And again, it kind of reminded me of like an animal kind of behavior. And so I looked it up. I was like, And it was. It's just, you know, weird when we see humans doing certain things that replicate like more animalistic primal tendencies, even though it's very natural and common, right? It's just, it kind of took me off guard in the dream and I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. And then the dream we had last night or early this morning, you know, following that dream, it was just like a quick escalation from there. So yeah, just really interesting how the human brain works and consciousness and all that stuff, huh? And okay, so the other thing that I want to talk about in regards to some of this stuff, right? And we might touch on this in the devil video regarding Dracula and all that stuff come Capricorn season, because people's energy, you know, the way that we feel it, interact with it, even from afar. Again, very individual experience, process, whatever, right? But we have had all kinds of experiences. And one of the things more recently that we experienced in regards to that is just like a really lovely energy that has been coming through. Yeah, and it just, some people in the world, you know, even if you don't know a person you've never met. You're not even entirely sure like who they are. But you can feel the energy of a person. Some people just have really, really beautiful energy. You could say it's warm, it's loving, it's tender, it's kind, it's compassionate, it's supportive, it's giving. I mean, I could go on and on, but just a little like, some people just have really, really beautiful energy. And to be able to connect with certain people in that way is really, really beautiful and makes me really grateful. Spit out my food. Yeah, so that's all we're gonna say about that for now until we get into the video later. But yeah, what else? I don't know. We're in the middle of Sag season. The cunt has been off the charts. Feeling so cunty, diva. Yeah. Sag is in our 7th house, and it contains our north node as well as our descendant. And so we've just been looking at some of the themes regarding that in our life. Yeah, but Sagittarius energy. We got a little bit of that in our chart, and yeah, we're feeling feisty. Love it. I don't know what else. We're getting into pistachios now. I should end this. We really don't have too much else that I can think of at the moment. Just last time we were here filming a video at the creek, I think was our Faherlofia video. Was it? Was that the last time we were here? I think so. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That that Faherlofia video, huh? Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Something about that video. I'm done. I'm out of here. I hope everyone's having a glorious Sunday and week and month and end to their year, at least of the Gregorian calendar. And I love you. Oh yeah. I love you, bitch. I ain't never gonna stop loving you.